Hey friends. I I've noticed over the last couple weeks maybe. Well, I think actually it probably started with the surgery experience that I had, which is going to be 4 weeks in 2 days' time. On Thursday of this week, it'll be 4 weeks from the date of my operation. And as I said, as you heard, if you sort of caught my posts a few days out of that, coming right out of that experience, that was definitely a threshold of some kind. I moved into another phase of things, and it is still evidencing itself, and it is still creating little ripples that I can point to pretty tangibly. Another thing that has happened in the last couple of weeks, I would say, is that I can only interpret it, according to what I perceive. But the way I interpret it is because I took that transition, that threshold seriously, because I allowed a new phase to sort of start, and in some ways I kind of leaned into it right as it was um, right as it was kind of launching, right as I came out of that experience and I sensed something was different. It was like I grabbed hold of that horse and jumped on. And as a result of that, something has happened where in my state, my general emotional state, there is a kind of, it's almost like a combination of poise, increased poise, and increased agitation or subtle discomfort. And it's an interesting cocktail. It's an interesting combination because those two things usually, it's like you're moving from one to the other. You're moving towards poise and peace, or you're moving towards agitation. But the state that I've experienced recently is sort of an enhancement of both. And I interpret it as, the poise comes from an increased presence, being just a little more conscious, being a little more willing to sit with what is, and a little more willing to refrain from falling into certain patterns, certain unhealthy patterns of thought and behavior. So that's the poise part of it. And then the agitation part is because that's happening, because I'm kind of getting centered, another layer of depth is like bubbling up and being like, hey, notice me, I'm here. It's just showing itself and giving me a chance to work with it. And it's really interesting because I find I almost have to decide, or at least agree, acquiesce to not doing anything about it. I almost have to just be like, okay, you can be here. And I've had the sense recently. I've had a couple of conversations with my wife over the last couple of days where I've been sitting in this state, and it's like I want to go to say something that's gonna alleviate that, whatever it is, that sort of agitated feeling, but it's like I can tell that I don't want to do actually, it's not that it would be bad to alleviate it. It's just that if I go to alleviate it, it's going to be a habitual pattern. I'm going to start down a habitual pathway of thinking. Initially, it'll be thinking, and then eventually it might be behavior that will simply deflect and distract me from this agitated energy. And really, the agitated energy is a gift. It's trying to shift something. And I don't actually want to get rid of it. I want to channel it. I want to receive it fully and use it, utilize it. And so there's this combination of states where there's, on the one hand, an increased poise, an increased settledness, and on the other hand, this increased, almost like aggravation. And it's like I have to, the trick, it seems to me, is to allow them to just both be for now. It's not that we don't eventually want to deal with the aggravation or this agitation or figure out what that is. It's just that I think that I can tell that right now my initial impulses for how to do that they're gonna ignore, and they're gonna deflect, and they're gonna distract. They're not actually gonna help me utilize this impulse. So I've kind of, in the last couple of evenings, I've just kind of been, okay, like I don't get resolution right now. I don't get to have resolution right now. And my job is to not crave it, or to crave it but not act on the craving. That's the deepest wisdom that I can extract from this at this point. I think that I will get more clarity, and I think that ultimately this energy will provide some insight. I think it will give me some answers, and quite possibly some actions, some important actions. But in the short term, the job feels basically, the most important job feels like, well, let this stuff be. Let it be. Be chill. Don't get all bent out of shape about it. Just let the energy be there and appreciate it. That's the one thing that actually I can do. Once I have the level of realization that I am sharing right now, which is that I think I just need to sit with this, I can, even if I can't resolve the agitation, and even if that aggravation feels in and of itself like an uncomfortable thing in my psyche, I can appreciate that it's there instead of trying to get rid of it, right? Instead of trying to banish it or distract myself from it, I can at least say, look, I might not like you. You might not be creating joy, happy feelings in my body and mind right now, but I can appreciate that you are here in some way serving me, in some way moving me forward, evolving me, even if I don't quite know how that is happening yet, and I can't yet articulate the change or the positive forward movement. I haven't seen enough evidence of that yet to be like, yes, that's what's going on. That's why it's so great to have this energy in my body. I'm not there, but I can at least be like, but I know that's what you're here for. I can tell that. I can tell. I know you're here to help. So that feels just, as with many of these posts, I'm articulating this so that I hear myself say it, and so that I instead of just thinking these thoughts, which I've already thought many times. I mean, that's how I've managed to kind of stay where I've been. I felt like I've been able to maintain the poise despite the aggravation over the last couple of days. Hearing myself say it out loud just concretizes that for me. It makes it a little more explicit, a little more clear. So that's what I'm doing. Sadhguru said, these solar flares are infusing the world with energy. They're like blasting us with extra solar energy right now. And I can relate to that. That's manifesting. Not just in beautiful night skies, but also in my own internal experience. So that's where I'm at today, people. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.